Hello, old friend. I know, it's been a while. Yeah, missed you too. We're getting set up for a major overhaul, a whole new skin, all new A&D sheet metal. Nothing but the best for you. And I don't want to worry you or nothing, but there's some structural stuff too. And I need you to work with me, and I'll work with you. And you can't expect me just to do everything right the first time. It doesn't work like that. If it goes wrong, I'm liable to hurt you, and you're liable to hurt me. And I just couldn't handle that, and neither could Derek. So I need you to take care of me this time. Take care of me. Ow! That is not the type of answer I'm looking for from you right now. Thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, hit the thing and hit the thing to get the things, and we'll get you notifications to see what's coming down the pike. Obviously, today, we're back on Garbage Camaro. And I just have to say, looking around it, it's looking a little bit less like garbage every time I take a swing at it. So thanks for going along with this journey with me. We've been doing things like a 6-day thrash and putting a paint job and restoring a 56 F100 truck with my family. Did that, restored a C10 grill, part of it anyways. So we've been working on different content, and I've been sort of working around this thing, and we've done a few things to it. We completely rebuilt the upper and lower door hinges and got them all solid and stuff, and got the doors to fit so that they close like butter. It still sounds like a box of wrenches being dropped on the floor when I close the door, but it has nothing to do with the fit. But you can close that with a fingertip, so I'm happy with that. We did that so that I can completely take off the back half of the sheet metal, because if you remember, obviously, we need a roof skin. Trimmed off part of that. We need quarter panels, because I'm converting this to my 1970 body style, and the taillights are different. So I just took a peekaboo in here, cut this place. I didn't cut the quarter completely off. Trunk lid's gone. We've had the homemade parking lot customization of the lock cylinder right here, and that's got to go. This whole tail panel's got to go. These taillights are different. These are the 74 through 77 tail lights, and I like them. I think they look good. I want the dual round tail lights on the back of this, and I want to do away with the big fat bumpers. So all of this stuff is going away. The entire back half of the car, roof skin, quarter panel outer. My wheelhouses are kind of toast around the wheel lip. Tail panel, trunk floor. It all goes away. And I put panels on before. I put complete panels on before. I've got a body panel replacement DVD, if you still watch DVDs, and there's a streaming version of it. So I'm not new to panels. But I will say this, it's not a confession, and I'm not scared, not really, of taking everything apart. I'm going to strip this joker down to the frame rails, because everything needs done, and the trunk floor is going to be the first thing that we put in, and then build the back end around it. And that way, I'll have the conversion that I want, new sheet metal. I'll get a chance to scope out the insides of the frame rails, check everything for rust, and really do a nice job of bringing it back and making it what it needs to be. Super solid in the background, of course, with the help of AMD, all the AMD sheet metal we're going to put on there. And that's it. Before I start cutting, I've cut pieces. I haven't cut panels. This is still holding together. This rear structure is still locked in place. I have a reference point now with my door gap and my rocker gap. That's going to tell me where to put these quarter panels, because these are locked in and they're in the right spot. But before I start cutting things apart, I've got a little bit more teardown to do, and I've got some measurements to make and some bracing to do to make sure that this thing holds its structure while I start putting pieces back on it. So That's what we're gonna start doing right now. Weather seal's gotta come out anyways. I think I can pull most of it out. I wanna check the channel and make sure it's good and solid. It is there. Let's go up here. That's good and solid. It is glued in, so I'm getting some resistance from the force. I'm keeping this panel. Quarter panel laps over here and ends right here. You can see that little, that's where the panel ends. So all I really need to do is strip it out of here. All of this garbage is going away. This comes on the new quarter panel. All right, so this makes me happy because all of this metal in here is super solid. Follow the bouncing screwdriver right down through here. I'll clean that out with a wire wheel or something like that. But all it needs to do is be solid down to here. Of course, we've got some rosette welds or some plug welds to, spot welds is what I'm trying to say, to get rid of there, and we're good. So, tear down of that, complete. Put that where it belongs. This can come out like that. Now under here, we've got some doohickeys to get rid of. I don't know if I can do this. I've got to get my big fat head in there. Nope. I actually have to get in there to do it. All right, right now. I had intended to put a bug bomb off in this vehicle to kill the freaking spiders, but I haven't done that. And they're probably crawling up my shirt right now. I'm very insecure. I'll just pull that loose like that. Oh, okay, because there's a tab on either side. Of course there is. All right, now that comes loose. There's our taillight harness. I'm just going to leave this. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to, what am I going to do? I am going to, what is that? That is the trunk illumination circuit. I know that because it's an orange wire. And I'm going to take that loose. From there. And from there. Now what I can do is get out very carefully. At the same time as my skin is crawling, or is that insects crawling on my skin? I don't know. All right. All right, cool. This is intact. This will probably work, or it won't when I do my taillight conversion. But somebody's got a wiring harness. I think at Zed Sled I used a painless wiring harness. As a matter of fact, I know I did. And it was a direct fit for second-gen F-body Camaros, and it worked extremely well. I don't know what choice I'm going to make this time, but it's probably going to be a complete harness just because, I don't know. Yeah. fiberglass. These are really solid. Despite some moron pushing on them with all his might, they didn't break, so that's good. Yeah, we get another glimpse of the original color too. That was a nice color. Nice maroon. I think I'm seeing a way home here. I can do that. No, it's not working. There it is. One piece. Done. Moving on. That's bright. Oh, okay. Somebody somewhere needs that. Somebody needs that. This side is toast. Yeah, it's all foobar. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about this side. All right, so this is the old deck lid. We're not using this panel because it's rusty. It's rusted through in the inner panel and no. But it is an original panel to this car. So I've got a new AMD panel, but this one was born here. So what I'm gonna do is get my gap set, mark my hinges on the bottom side, and when I go to put my new quarters on, I'm going to put this deck lid on, and we are going to have another fixed point of reference, or it's actually an adjustable point of reference, but we're going to have another point of reference just to confirm that our quarter panels are in the right place during the mock-up phase. And every time I say mock-up, I'm going to do that. So this is actually a mock-up, pre-mock-up. So I'm going to snug these guys, and then we're going to mark our hinges. Okay, I'm just marking these with masking tape. Just a quick reference. When I get the quarters mocked up, then I'll know that I'm close. Okay, figured that was going to happen at least once. All right, it's sort of worth saving. A little bit of fiberglass repair right there, and replacing the stud that Kevin twisted off in the fiberglass right there. That fixed this thing right up. I'm going to lift the car up and make sure that I can get to stuff under the bottom, things like that. But right now, with it down on its wheels, I'm going to melt the lead out of these transitions here. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to use a butane torch and melt the lead out. Make sure it's in a well-ventilated area, or if you're doing this at home, and protect your lungs. It's lead. It's not good. You know, we don't want to breathe in lead smoke because, no. And aside from not letting molten lead, drip onto your shoes, probably should have some safety glasses on too. So the reason I want to get rid of the lead seam is to expose the spot welds. And also, if you look real close, you can see that the roof skin overlaps the quarter panel. So that's the order in which we've got to put these panels on. Well, quarters first and the roof comes over top. But what it really does is expose every single one of these spot welds, which there's 11 of them from the factory. And that's how I'm going to separate these panels. So now what we're going to do, sweep up the lead, get the car up on jack stands, get it leveled, and make sure that we are in a fixed position in which to do everything else. So now what I'm going to do is get the car up to a more comfortable working height to where I can get underneath it and on top of it, and that happens with jack stands, and also it gives me the opportunity to level the car and brace it in other different ways. That's what we're doing right now. So the first thing I did was to level up the rocker panels. I did that with the big jack stands, established my level and my squareness of the unibody. Then, because we've got a subframe hanging out there, I ended up testing the droop, getting it level, and supporting it with jack stands under the front control arms. There's not enough weight there, but what that does is it relieves any pressure from the subframe coming down, springing back into the unibody. So now there's no pressure there, everything's supported, and we've still maintained our level. The other thing I did was I put jack stands underneath the spring perches, the axle pads on the rear axle, same thing. I wanted to relieve a little bit of the weight, the droop from the actual spring assembly, so it wouldn't be putting downward pressure on the frame rails, because when we cut it all loose, we don't want that downward pressure. We want even support all the way through the structure of the vehicle. So we're going to double check our level, and then there's one more step we're going to do before we start cutting. So right here is the most level part of the whole unibody, and this is my benchmark, is where I establish where my starting point is going to be. The top of the rocker and this little channel here are my touchstone. So if you look at the level, we're zero bubble, we're in good shape right there. That is my reference point. So all I have to do is make sure that's level, and also make sure that it's level on the other side too. I'll just double check it here again, and it's right dead center in the middle. So now I know I'm level on both sides. I also know that this rocker panel is installed in the right position. Now, we've got really great support, and I know guys that have done this without supporting anything else and just cutting it apart, put it back together again, Bob's your uncle, we're done. I'm going to do one more thing. My friend Chris Slee.
Hey, welcome back to Kiwi Classics and Customs. So, we've got the old Falcon up on the rack.
Advised this, and it really makes sense to me. So we're going to do a couple more things, bracing the ends of the frame rails before we start. I'm just going to use some square tubing, and it'll go just where the tape measure is going, which is going to be 24 3/8. So what that's going to do, it's not really going to support anything, but it's going to give me a reference point to where when my square tubing right here is touching the ground, I know it's in the right place. And in case it wants to droop, this will hold it up. If it decides to spring the other way, I'll know about it and I'll be able to brace it some other way. So this is just sort of a touchstone. Yeah, 24 3/8. So I don't assume to think that this thing is square or symmetrical at all, so I'm going to measure this side as well. Again, about 24, about the same, holy smokes. Huh, all right, so 24 3/8, and we're going to kind of sneak up on it. So make some cuts, and then we might brace it laterally, but that should get us ready to start chopping. All right, so I said 24 3/8, I'm going to go 24 1/2 and then sneak up on it. I can always cut more metal off. It's a little harder to add metal to it. right, so that's all the bracing that I'm gonna do. And that lets me feel really pretty darn good about how I know that everything is staying in the same place. The only other thing that I'm gonna do is do some kind of detailed measurements from this run in the quarter panel here down to, well, not down to the trunk floor, but maybe down to the frame rails. I'm just gonna have some reference measurements and a little drawing just to make sure that I've got a touchstone to go back to when I'm putting everything back together and mocking up. This jacket is hot. And yeah, so we're getting closer to cutting. I like it. This corner, kind of that corner there. The trunk floor is all gibbled, but the frame rails don't change. The trunk floor is flat in the 70 to 73, 74 and up, they changed to this dual height. And anyway, but the frame rails are the same distance down here. So my first measurement is here from the bumper mount. And I'm gonna say, coming straight up, you can tell me that looks like 1 foot. That's 12 inches. So my first mark here, 12 inches. Now I'm gonna go to this corner, straight down to the frame rail. Does that look like 13 inches to you? It looks like 12 and 15/16, or 12 and 7/8. 12 and 7/8. 12 and 7/8. And this one is out the window because my trunk floor is goofed up. But this side over here, I'm going to come down to the frame rail. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that we're going to be, oh no, that's 13. All right, so that's same. And this one here, right at, well, it's a little low. There you go, General Motors. We're 1/8 of an inch lower on this side. I'm going to correct that. I'm going to put it exactly the same measurement as the other side. So make sure I'm not full of rust here. So that's 11 and 7/8 and 12 inches. Okay, so we're going to correct a mass production faux pas and make it the same. So that's 12 and 7/8. And that's 12 and 5/8. So we're a quarter inch down right here. Okay, all right. So I'm going to put my reference mark there anyways. And what it is, what my actual measurement was, and we're going to go from there. So right at this point here, I'm going to measure straight down from there, scientific and all, and I'm right at 17 inches right here. And I've got my little drawing here. I made that notation. Now I have a reference point. It might be crude, but it's going to get me dialed in and close. So this is kind of the fun part of this whole thing. I get to look and see if what I suspected was the truth. And we've got a bunch of body filler here. It's just a temporary rust repair over top of the rust. We've got tin worm holes through here. I bought trunk drop-off plates. That's this section right here. And I was hoping I would be able to send them back because the metal is not horrible, but it's full of pitted rust. Right here where it meets the outer wheelhouse, again, it's full of rust. So we're gonna roll with new trunk drop-off plates and new outer wheelhouses. Even though most of it's solid, it's just not solid around here. So I could spend 42 hours making new panels with a shrinker stretcher, or I could just drill out some spot welds here, put the whole new thing in and made it up. And that's what we're gonna do. So I've got some more trimming to do here, and we're sneaking up on it. It's a process, man. It's a process. All right, so all that came off pretty easy. This right here is going to be a little bit more difficult. We've got a bunch of spot welds to drill. This lock pillar outer right here, obviously if you look here, you can see the bracing for it. This doesn't come with a quarter panel. Quarter panel goes over top of that. So all of these spot welds back here, we've got to drill them out. And even all up in here, that's got to be all drilled out from the outside. All these guys down here, you can see them right down here. I've got a couple of them exposed, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld. And we'll just have to get rid of all of those spot welds all the way up there, and then just use a panel separator. And it's not difficult. It's just a little bit on the time-consuming side. And I've got kind of an anomaly right here. This plastic vent, this is a pressure relief vent. That's in really nice shape. I want to save that. And of course, this is my new stainless steel striker. Thanks to Kevin Martin. And we're going to get rid of that, and then start drilling. Drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, drill, drill. All right, so I tried a couple of different spot weld cutters out. This is the one that I like the best. This is from a company called Blair. This end is double-sided, and it's a hardened steel, so when the blades break, it just goes for poop. But you've got two sides on a particular bit, and they're fairly easy to change out, and I've found that this one works the best for me. This is a little spring pointer thinger, and I had to drill a little pilot nebula in the middle, and so what? So that works the best for me. I've seen all kinds of people on the tube that say use an air hammer and just straighten it out after you're done, drill all the way through, and just weld it from the bottom, and to each his own. I don't want to move the backing panel. I want to drill a hole in the front panel. I don't want to have to body work the braces. So this is my favorite method, and yeah, back 3 or 4 or 5 videos ago when I was drilling spot welds on the rocker panel and I had the drill going in the wrong direction and it was skating all over the place, yeah, that's on me. So I just want you to know that I know that you know that I know that you know. Anyway, here we go. So I'm going to use my handy dandy spot weld cutter, and I know there's a longer one of these. This is the one I have. I've got one on order with the long thing. Chris Lee was talking about that. So, and we're going to just try and separate this panel. It would actually help if I was trying to separate the actual panel instead of the brace behind the brace, but hey, that's what Alanis Morissette said. We live, we learn, we laugh, we love. I don't know. Why am I quoting Alanis Morissette? Wow. More drilling. Get there. Another spot weld. So I got a few more spot welds to drill through. They've shown themselves to me where they are. So we'll get that done. This thing will pop right out of there just like a hot knife through butter. Hot. Right there, right there, right there. I think there's one there. All right then, our work is not finished here. So there's apparently another spot weld in here. This is, yeah, I can see the pivot point right there. All right, so we're gonna drill that one out. And yeah. Where are you attached? It's right below. Well, whoever you guys were on the assembly line that put this car together, you were very thorough. So there's that. Found another one. We're in pretty good shape here. I found a little boo-boo right there. When we cut the lower part off to put the rocker in, I sliced through the inner brace right there. I'll stitch that up. I'll put some hot glue in there and weld that up. But if you look at the integrity of the metal, I'm very happy with this. On my Z sled car, all of this was rotten. It was just rotten. We had to put a used piece in. And up here, I got some dressing to do and some spot welds. We'll get to that and do that like as a group effort. I've got one little overlap here. We'll just get rid of that. I'll grind that out something. Up here, to finish the removal of said quarter panel, I'll drill these spot welds out, and this piece will just fall out on my foot. And yeah, we know how that goes. Because I don't want to just blindly cut this out. There's a flange that both these panels sit on. So it's a 3-panel intersection. I want to protect the metal, and I want to make sure it's there and put this back like the general put it together the first time. So that's why I'm being so stupid, fastidious, picky on my methods of drilling out spot welds. So yeah, throw your internet stones if you want to. Everybody has their own way of doing stuff. There's more than one way to skin the cat, as they say, and to me, this is the way to skin the cat. It takes a little longer, but it preserves the shape of the metal, in my opinion. Anyway, okay, cool. So moving on and moving on. So this, actually this has Matco stamped all over it, but this is a spot weld cutter with a backer. So with this guy, it's pneumatic, puts pressure on, and it's supposed to be a nice guide that doesn't burn through. So I'm gonna try this. I forgot I even had this. My compressor would barely fill up a bicycle tire. So we're gonna see how long my compressor lasts and see how many of these spot welds we can get done. Because this right here, I did the guy's method to where I just used a air chisel and it made freaking hamburger out of this flange, and I don't like it. I want more control than that. So anyway, we're gonna try this, see where we get. So I'm gonna have to exercise a little more self-control than that because that burned exactly right through. So I'm gonna have to wait till the last minute and pull out. That sounded so weird. All right, sorry about that. So the verdict on the Matco pneumatic spot weld driller, I like it. There's no need for a pilot hole because it clamps and it will stay exactly where that point is, so it doesn't walk. That's a really good plus. The minus is that my 20-gallon 2.7 horse pull-behind compressor was dying. Not enough compressor, and it just didn't have enough torque here at the end to get through it. It got rid of that piece. And all I have to do is come back here with some hammer and dolly work, and I'll have to flatten it out. I've got some debris here to cut off. So, I don't know. The guy that said to do it with a air chisel, no, not wrong. He used the belt sander, got down through the spot welds, and then air chiseled the rest off. His method is probably faster, but I don't know. I'm going to stick with what I got, trim that piece, I'm going to move around, and we're going to keep moving forward. But what I do like is how good this metal is. I've said that for, about 7 episodes now. Anyway, moving over to somewhere else, that side. All right, so right here, this part is not welded on from the factory. You can see the sealer that they used here is bulged out there. So this part is clamped over. It's rolled over just like a door skin. So we've got to chisel that off. There, see how that's separated now? We'll just work our way down. Work that panel. That rolled over section off. Putting these back on is fun too. Gets you really good at your hammer and dolly finesse. better angle. Yeah, boy, that's clamped on there, man. It would help if I could completely cut through on this end. Now that'll give me a little bit of leverage there. Just about went too far there. You see that? I'm gonna have to repair that because it's important to have that intact. Oh. Come on. I have an idea. Why don't I get these? They're designed for that. It's stuck by that adhesive, which is a good thing. That's why these cars stick together for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. There we go. And this is good except for where it's not. Yeah, like I said, I'll just have to run a bead of weld, fix that area there, and just dolly that out. We'll have plenty of options to test fit and see how this is going. The bottom line is that this metal's in good shape, except for where I tried to make it into more than one piece of metal. But hey, we are not past the point of not being able to recover, so that's good. All right, onward, over, upward. All right, so I decided to throw caution to the wind and listen to the internet, and I got out my air chisel and I just started hamburgering this up. And I realized very quickly that even though I saw the top row of the spot welds for the roof skin onto this flange that is part of the inner roof skin, all of my spot welds for the for the quarter panel, which slips underneath, are buried. So it's the Wild West. So anyway, got my air hammer, peeled it back up, and where Where it wasn't holding on, that wasn't a spot weld. Where it was holding on, it was a spot weld. So I then drilled them out again, whatever. Came back again, hammer dolly. If you look right here, it ain't pretty, but it's a flat flange. I needed holes in it anyways, maybe not 72 of them, but now my quarter panel will go under here, and my roof skin will go over top. So I'll put the quarter first, and I'll tack weld that. I'll get that done. Then dress the welds, and then come back in with my roof skin. That's the way the factory put these cars together, and I feel pretty good about that's the way I'm gonna put this car together as well. Do I feel really great about these welds? They're not pretty the way I've cut these apart. It's fine, rinse and repeat, right? So we've got this to do. I'm good across the windshield, more spot welds here, and I know what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use my sexy new pneumatic spot weld cutter that's laying over there conveniently on the floor waiting for me, across the top here, and just be done with those. What I like the most about that is it doesn't walk. Here's a cool thing. Now, we could look back in here. Now I can get to all of these welds down in there. They're good welds. I've got good penetration. They just look nasty. So I can clean those up, make them look better. I can clean up the whole back side of this lock pillar. We could do something fun on this slight surface rust here, and we'll do this right, man. We'll do this properly. So the other things I want to do right now are to cut this wheelhouse off, because let's face it, this thing's going away. It's fairly solid there, it's not solid there, it's hamburger here, it's rusty there, it's rusty at the back, and it's rusty here. It's gone. I've got a new one sitting over there on the floor. We're gonna cut this out. It ain't gonna be pretty. It's gonna be a Sawzall. I want this exposed. Again, 4011 spot welds on here. We know how to deal with those. And I'll get my trunk drop off eliminated, and that. So when you look at this, this is the inner wheelhouse. Other than some mud, it's in really good shape. That's factory undercoat. There's no rust underneath it. All of this double wall stuff is in great condition. Frame rails are really, really good. All of this is brand new rocker panel that we put in there. And then when we go to our new outer wheelhouse, if you look inside, you can see how the wheelhouse itself, like right in here, you can see how it all completes that. It's not exactly fitting right now, but that'll go down in there. We'll drill a couple holes here, and it'll just intersect with those flat panels right here and lock all of that structural member back in. If you look here, this is an alignment point right there. Once I cut that flange off, that's exactly where I locate that. This is exactly where I locate this hole. This is exactly where I locate that hole. So the placement of this is actually really, really simple. And it'll get us great integrity back into not only that super important corner of the structure, which is your outer frame rail, it'll lock that back into place. It all builds off the strength. And look here. Here's our frame rail. They're in good shape. Spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld. This is a whole separate piece. We've gotten them new in the box, just sitting there waiting from AMD. So I drill my spot welds, I expose the frame rail, we'll clean up the frame rail on the inside and make sure that that's good for another 100 years worth of corrosion. This, again, chasing more spot welds. That's part of the old rear body panel. We've got a new one sitting in the box on my trunk floor. The trunk floor actually goes up past, well, you can see right there. I don't have to go all that way up. This is good metal here. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably just splice it in. I'll find a nice place. I'm thinking somewhere along there. And I'll splice it in here, do a nice butt weld, and then same thing over here with this frame rail. This didn't move. This didn't move. When I cut through here, there was no spring back. I watched it very carefully. It didn't collapse on itself. My brace to the end of the frame rails and my lateral cross brace, nothing has moved, which makes me very happy. So that tells me that everything's staying right where I want it. So now it's just a matter of rinse and repeat on the spot welds and get stuff cleaned up. So that's the end of this episode, and I've got a whole lot of work to do, a whole lot of spot welds to drill, and a lot of cleaning up to do. And I'm going to take some video of it. We'll show it to you on the next one. But the next one, we're going to be starting from the place where we can start adding back, which is kind of the cool part. We're going to put the trunk floor in, and then we'll go with quarter panels, and then rear body panel, and locate, and use our trunk like we talked about as a locating guide, and then finally end up with the roof skin. This is a big job. This is a lot of bites out of the elephant at one time, and that's fine, and it's also a commitment. We've committed to this right in here, and I'm okay with that because it's going to be exactly what I envisioned it to be, and with the help of AMD and their sheet metal, it's going to be a relatively straightforward project. So I just want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for committing to this build alongside of me, and cheers. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends to subscribe. We're not a Camaro channel. We're an old car channel. If you've been watching, we're bumping around. We're doing some other stuff. I've got a bad to the bone 280ZX project. It's all stacked up. It's all waiting to go, and it's really cool. I've got my old 66 C10 that is just sitting under a carport. It doesn't run. There's lots of stuff that we're going to be doing, and I'm so glad that you're becoming a part of this. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Paintucation by me.